This episode of The Totally Rad Show is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook at audiblepodcast.com/totallyrad. Coming up on today's TRS, we take a look at the movie Four Lions.
So today in movies, we're going to talk about the movie Four Lions. Before I even describe the film, I should mention it is of note that it is the first movie being released by Alamo Drafthouse Pictures, or the Alamo Drafthouse is now releasing independent films. So if you remember, or if you live in Austin, you know the Alamo Drafthouse. If you read movie blogs, you know about the Alamo Drafthouse. But if you don't, it's a popular franchise in Texas and perhaps other parts of the country. I do not know.
Well, I know they're bringing one now.
And they're bringing one to LA, where the Alamo Drafthouse, you go and you order food while you watch movies, and drinks or anything while you watch films. But they also have incredible programming that plays foreign comedies that are of note. Or
it's sort of a film geek's mecca.
It is. It really is.
And I say mecca to lead you into the next thing.
Right. So they are releasing Four Lions, which is a comedy about a group of young and up-and-coming inept British jihadists plotting a big terrorist act. It's from director Chris Morris, who wrote and directed the popular British TV series Nathan Barley, and even starred in The IT Crowd too. Shows that people are always emailing us about, but I've watched a little bit of Nathan Barley, not my thing.
I've seen a little bit of The IT Crowd when it first came out.
Right.
I saw it on an airplane.
It's also co-written by last year's Oscar-nominated screenwriter of the movie In the Loop, which is sadly still on my list of shame, as is
Was it a foreign movie?
British film.
Okay.
Jesse Armstrong. Anyway, equal farts.
Equal farts. Equal farts. Equal farts. Everybody.
Don't know why.
Everybody equal farts.
Equal parts farce
Or farts parse.
and parable. Alex.
You kind of, I'll let Alex say, but you kind of skip over there's a big, it really is about terrorists. It's a comedy about terrorists.
I said.
No, you just kind of said it like it isn't a thing. That's a thing.
Yeah, it's a comedy about four terrorists.
Right.
So here's the thing. So
I said jihadists.
You did. It's a big deal.
So here's the thing. There are things to like about this movie. And I think there were definitely some laugh out loud moments in the comedy. I think the problem for me and where I felt like this movie really fell apart was that I felt like it didn't have a specific point of view. It was sort of constantly flip-flopping points of view. It was sort of like, they had some really good moments in the middle, I thought, with his brother. When his brother came in, I thought it was a really good way to sort of show a real big mirror onto sort of all religious extremists.
When the main character who is plotting a terrorist act,
right,
his
when
brother,
his brother comes in, who's
the opposite of that,
but who's not plotting a terrorist attack, but is staunch Muslim.
Right.
Has these sort of effect like your wife can't be in the same room, and I was like, oh, okay, that's the point of view of this movie is any religious extremism is so blah, 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 blah. But then that's not, then the next scene is totally opposite point of view. And by the end of the movie, I don't know if this movie wants me to feel happy for the main character, which it seemed like that's what it wanted me to do. And if that's the case, that I have zero interest in that movie. So it's like, it was all over the place. And I felt like, it was funny.
I think it's on purpose. I think it's on purpose to not put you in a very comfortable place with what you're watching. That
might very well have been it, but I felt it very off-putting. I thought the humor was enough that it was sort of fun, but by the end, I was like, what am I supposed to take away with this?
I think
that this guy was great?
Hypocrisy and bizarreness of desires to do these things, and that it's based on very thin...
If that was the case, then that was not what this movie delivered to me. So I think inevitably I would tell people not to really go see it unless you were sort of in for this really weird ride. I mean, so many people blow up in this movie, and I think there was more laughs out of me of what are they showing that for than the comedy.
It's about people whose life ambition is to blow up. I mean, it really is about, it's kind of like Stripes if everybody wanted to get into the Mujahideen.
Awesome.
You know?
Awesome reference. Wow.
It's a very classic kind of comedy about the inept guys doing the thing, except it's about the single most taboo subject and the pure audacity of them to make this movie and to somebody to release this movie. It is right there. I was sort of taken aback, and I can't help but kind of applaud that pure moxie of that. And I would kind of object to this, except for the fact it's pretty fucking funny. It's a pretty funny movie. If it wasn't funny, it would be offensive. But it's funny, and they mine comedy out of those places. It's proof that I hear a lot of comedians talk about, and throughout history talk about, there is nothing off limits to comedy, right? It's the one thing.
The way in which you go at it that can.
And it's true, and it's proof in this movie that because they're mining jokes, and they're mining jokes out of the most horrible things that happen in our society, the things that we are most afraid of, the things that, like, why these people are drawn to this. I laughed a lot. I thought it was well delivered and well structured, and I couldn't believe that they kept making me laugh at the things they were making me laugh at. It is the darkest comedy I have ever seen. I mean, I challenge anybody to come up with a dark comedy that's darker than this. And the way it ends, I couldn't help but appreciate it and enjoy the experience for the pure audaciousness of
What'd you think,
audacity
Dan?
of it.
I see where you're both coming from. I agree more with Jeff in that I really got a lot out of it, and I thought it was very fun. Even though I didn't laugh out loud at everything, the tone was so. It really is an achievement that is all set up through the tone of the movie. That you can have a husband and wife and son have a conversation about doing the worst thing you could possibly do, but they're speaking about it in a very
It's like wholesome.
intuitive way. Yeah, and it sort of takes place in a very hyper real. The dialogue and content are completely hyper real, but the behavior and the setting is completely real. And just being able to film that was amazing piece of filmmaking, and I thought really intelligent and very thought-provoking, because well, you were saying you were sort of taken out by what is the message, and I kept on flipping my personal point of view
It
about.
seemed like they were trying to tell me different messages at alternating scenes were different messages that maybe I was just getting them out. I think I would have really enjoyed this movie had it ended in a totally different way.
But what you brought up point of view, which is to me one of the most interesting things about this and many films, and I kind of want to bring this up with you guys globally, is that even in a movie like The Professional, when you take the point of view of a hitman,
Right.
we are immediately empathetic for that character, and we want to see him. You almost want to see these guys because they are underdogs in Four Lions. You kind of, there's an instinctual feeling where you want to see them succeed, and then you have to intellectually guard that with, wait, I don't want to see that happen, but because it takes place in this hyper-real, anyway, but and in movies like Professional or Heat, where you're empathizing with a bank robber.
Taxi Driver? I mean, this movie shares a lot with Taxi Driver. It's like Taxi Driver if it was a comedy.
Right.
Or a movie we talked about on this show.
We didn't like it.
The Seth Rogen movie.
Yes.
Observe and Report.
Observe and Report,
Yeah.
where it's despicable acts done through a prism of hilarity.
Right.
I happen to like this movie a little more than that one, and just in the sense that
This one was definitely way funnier than Observe and Report. But again, the ending left me so like, what did they want me to think? Did they want me to be happy that this happened? Because they didn't get me to that place. Because I disagree that it was a hyper reality. These 4 people or these 5 people were were hyper characters, but it was definitely
that's what I
a
said.
normal person.
I said
it was a normal
hyper-real
place.
dialogue
like the
and
guy
content.
in the Swami shop.
Right, in a real
normal
setting.
guy in a real world.
Right,
and
yeah,
that happened.
right.
And and I felt like the comedy for me also was very hit or miss. When it hit, it was freaking hysterical. But there were other moments where it was like, that actually wasn't fun. I mean, I get how they were thinking it was funny, but for me, it didn't hit.
Well, they had and I say how funny the movie is, and I think we all agree that we laughed out loud numerous times, but it isn't just a comedy. It's not just a wacky joke a minute type of affair. They're straddling a line of talking about very serious things in very serious ways and presenting the sort of lifestyle of what an embedded terrorist cell would do. They're finding jokes in there, and these guys are inept, but they're portraying things that really happen. You know, these these kids get recruited in this kind of way, and they make bombs, and it's effed up stuff, you know, and so you are uncomfortable through it.
I think more than any of that, and what's really exciting is that it's a really original movie. It has a very specific voice, and like it just happens in a way that no other. I mean, take it or leave it, like it or not, but like a lot, like
it's definitely unique.
It's like the most unique, one of the more unique films you'll ever see.
I think it has a terrible title.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I think it should have been called Short Straws. The short, because they said that at one point in the movie, and it's like, that would have been a really good title.
Yeah.
Or Boom.
Amazing.
Boom!
So before we show you the last little bit of this 24 Hours of Gaming, Jeffrey, sponsor?
I am so happy that we're sponsored by Audible.com because it's a service I use and love. As I've mentioned before, I run almost every day, and I don't run to music. I can only run to talking. I love running to audiobooks.
Keep running.
Your training montage is hilarious.
Yeah, keep going. It's great to run to books because I feel like I'm multitasking. And that's the great thing about audiobooks and Audible.com is that you can, like, while you're driving, if you're stuck in traffic, you're actually getting something done. I always tell people to read more. In fact, I shouted it last week on a different show. And I think that this is a perfect way to do it. I want to recommend a book for you. I know we're talking about Walking Dead next week.
Correct.
And it is the Halloween season.
Correct.
An audiobook I loved was World War Z.
A friend of mine just mentioned that, yeah.
It's great because it's not just an audiobook, it's like a staged reading. They have different actors playing different parts because it's like an oral history of this fake zombie war that happened. And like Alan Alda and John Turturro. Awesome. It's awesome. And you can get that by going to audible.com/ what is it, Mike?
Audible.com/totallyRad.
Audiblepodcast.com/ /totallyrad, forgive me. Sign up, do that, it helps us out, and you can get a free book of your choice.
Amazing. Also, send us in some backgrounds, fans@totallyradshow.com, and you can check out flickr.com/ totallyradshow for this background as well as other backgrounds. Jinx.com/ TRS if you want some TRS swag.
Yes, indeed.
Or schwag. We'll see you tomorrow.
Our fun new segment is back. Come check out tomorrow's episode for the return of Versus.
A little after 10 o'clock, we hit the $4,000 mark.
Okay.
So we got $4,000 in donations. Thank everybody that's donated. And now we're moving on to some board games. We were just inside playing, or out back playing The Surface.
Draw deck. Relic cards can only be claimed through use of the event deck. Relics must be earned. Each treasure.
What I call the lone Kirby corner.
I'm still playing Kirby, y'all. I got Panther Face.
Pirates fight cursed zombies while the Japanese descendant bomber planes. What were the two Clint Eastwood?
No. That's Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl Harbor.
Yeah. Nice. Hear that, Blade Raid?
That was a good one.
This is me right now. I could talk to you, but my eyes are closed. I'm resting my eyelids, and then it's like I'm sleeping a little bit.
We have 2 hours. We have 2 hours left.
I'll give myself about 50-50.
2 hours. Are you up? Are you in? Are you Dan?
I'm Dan.
Yeah?
I feel a little bit like a kid.
I want a t-shirt with Dan's face with like closed eyes that just says, I feel a little bit like a kid. We're in the final stretch, an hour to go.
Final stretch, hour to go.
We set up the Dan face cam because
this is what we get on Dan face cam. If you look right now, you see the eyes crossing a little bit as they close. You look like
I don't
my
know why
dog.
you guys are able to, like, it's not... It's not, I don't understand how this is...
Oh, watch my eyes. It's a...
when he wakes himself up.
509.
Yay!
On to record!
Congratulations.
Another one in the can.
24
Another one in the can.
hours of gaming.
Another one in
Dan,
the
you
can.
survived.
I did.
I made it.
It
Still in
was
it.
touch and go there for a while, guys.
It was touch
We
and go.
did it. Let's bring on the comfy beds.
My comfy bed is
The
like
sugar plums dancing in our
I
heads.
cannot
Feet
wait for
away.
sugar plums in my head.
Punch it out!
amazing.
All right, guys. Good night, and good morning, and good afternoon.
And good luck.